What if the Soviet Union had invaded Germany in 1940? This question has captivated historians and enthusiasts for decades. It offers a tantalizing glimpse into an alternate timeline, one where the course of World War II takes a dramatically different turn. The year is 1940, and the world watches in horror as Hitler's war machine cuts through Europe. Poland has fallen, Denmark and Norway are under Nazi control. France teeters on the brink of collapse. In this context of fear and uncertainty, imagine Stalin, the calculating and ruthless dictator of the Soviet Union, making a move. He sees the Nazi threat growing. He knows that Hitler's ultimate goal is to conquer the East, including his own vast nation. Could Stalin strike first, catching the Nazis off guard, and potentially changing the course of history? The idea is audacious, even shocking. It challenges the accepted narrative of World War II. But to understand this hypothetical scenario, we must delve into the mind of Stalin, assess the military realities of the time, and consider the potential consequences, both intended and unintended. This is the story of a what-if moment, a moment where the fate of millions and indeed the entire world hangs in the balance. Joseph Stalin was a master strategist, a ruthless pragmatist driven by a desire to secure his power and expand Soviet influence. To understand why he might have considered invading Germany in 1940, we must delve into his complex web of motivations. Firstly, Stalin was deeply suspicious of Hitler's intentions. The non-aggression pact signed between the two dictators in 1939 was, in Stalin's eyes, a temporary measure, a way to buy time. He knew that Hitler's ideology targeted the Soviet Union as the ultimate prize, a vast land ripe for conquest and German colonization. Secondly, Stalin saw the fall of France and the disarray of Western Europe as an opportunity. He may have calculated that a swift and decisive strike against Germany, while it was still embroiled in the West, could yield significant territorial gains and cripple the Nazi war machine before it could fully turn its attention eastward. However, Stalin was not a man to be swayed by opportunity alone. He would have carefully weighed the risks and potential costs of such a bold move. The Red Army, despite its massive size, was still reeling from the purges of the late 1930s, which had decimated its officer corps and left it with a leadership vacuum. Ultimately, the decision to invade would have rested on a cold calculation. Could the Soviet Union achieve a decisive victory against Germany, and at what cost? The prospect of a Soviet invasion of Germany in 1940 raises a crucial question: could the Red Army have actually pulled it off? On paper, the Soviet Union possessed a numerical advantage in both manpower and equipment. The Red Army boasted millions of soldiers, thousands of tanks, and a vast industrial base capable of churning out war material. However, raw numbers only tell part of the story. The Red Army of 1940 was a force in transition, still recovering from the devastating purges orchestrated by Stalin just a few years earlier. These purges had wiped out a generation of experienced officers, leaving the Red Army with a depleted and often inexperienced leadership cadre. Moreover, the Red Army's performance in the Winter War against Finland in 1939 to 1940 had exposed significant weaknesses in tactics, logistics, and overall combat effectiveness. While the Soviets eventually prevailed against the Finns, it was a Pyrrhic victory, one that highlighted the need for significant reforms and modernization. On the other hand, the Wehrmacht, battle-hardened and led by a corps of skilled and experienced officers, was at the pinnacle of its power in 1940. Their blitzkrieg tactics, combining mobile armor, air power, and infantry, had proven devastatingly effective in Poland and France. The outcome of a Soviet invasion in 1940 would have hinged on a multitude of factors, including the element of surprise, the terrain, and the ability of the Red Army to overcome its internal weaknesses and adapt to the Wehrmacht's innovative tactics.